students, I'm back with your next class, and in today's class we are going to discuss a very important topic, and that is adaptations. In this section I'll give you certain important examples of adaptations which are very important for your exam. Alright, so let's first start with the definition to adaptation. So what exactly is adaptation? You have been using the term so many times frequently, but exactly what would we define as adaptation? Okay, see here, it is an attribute of the organism that enables it to survive and reproduce in its habitat. So anything that would allow an organism to survive and reproduce in a particular habitat, that would be referred as adaptation. Alright. Now, many adaptations have evolved over a long time and are genetically fixed, while some are epigenetic. You come across this term epigenetic. Epigenetic means something that is not fixed by genes, something that is not genetically controlled. So do remember, there are a few fixed adaptations found in every living organism. They are genetically controlled, whereas some are behaviorally controlled as well, or something that is not fixed by genes. Understood? Now, few important adaptations are as follows. Now, each and every of these examples are very important. All of you mark them very properly. Alright, so let's start. Number 1. Kangaroo rat in North American deserts is capable of meeting all of its water requirement through internal fat oxidation. Okay, when the fat is getting oxidized in its body or during the internal fat oxidation, as a byproduct in kangaroo rat, already water is produced as a byproduct. Okay, see this, where water is released as a byproduct. As water is being released as a byproduct, of course then there is no requirement for the kangaroo rat to take water or to increase its water intake, okay, or to take water from outside sources. Already inside its body during fat oxidation, water would be produced. Alright. Plus, it also concentrates its urine to lose minimum water. So that there is, minimum loss of water from the body. The urine is also released in a very concentrated form. So this is a very important, adaptation seen in an animal to conserve water in the body. Alright. Next is again water conservation, but in case of plants. See, the xerophytic plants, okay, or the plants which are found in deserts, they have certain very important adaptations that are seen in them, which are of course genetically fixed, that is thick cuticle and sunken stomata. Sunken stomata means the stomata would remain deep inside, it is as if it has been sunk. Okay, from sink comes sunk. So sunken stomata would be present, and thick cuticle. Both of that would minimize water loss by transpiration. Alright. Also, in CAM plants, if you remember the chapter photosynthesis, we have discussed CAM pathway, crescelacean acid metabolism, isn't it? CAM plants, they are found in such high temperature habitat where water is very scarce. So in that case, to meet the demand for water or to survive in such scarcity of water all the time, they have a special type of adaptation that has been found in them, that is scotoactive stomata. Scotoactive stomata. Now what is scotoactive stomata? If you remember, that has also been discussed with you. Scotoactive stomata means stomata that would remain closed during the day and it would open at night. You very well know that in usual plants, the stomata would open during the daytime, whereas it will close at night, isn't it? But in case of CAM pathway or the CAM plants, it is exact opposite. The stomata would remain closed during the day so that transpiration is minimized, whereas it will remain open at night when the carbon dioxide fixation would occur. Okay, carboxylation would occur. Alright, so at night carbon dioxide will be fixed. It would be converted into malic acid, which will be stored in the sap vacuole, if you remember. And next, in the daytime, malic acid would be converted into sugar by using the ATP and NADPH, which are the products of the light reaction, isn't it? That's the summary of the CAM pathway. So in CAM plants, photoactive stomata is a very special adaptation to conserve water in plants. Next, plants like Opuntia have leaves modified into spines and stems are modified into phylloclades. Again, something that you have learned in the morphology chapter itself in class 11. So spines are modified leaves, isn't it? They are sharp and pointed structures just like thorns, but thorns being modified stem, isn't it? So leaves are modified into spine. That will serve two purposes. One, the transpiration would be reduced because the lamina would otherwise have lot of stomata that will increase the transpiration rate. If the leaf itself is reduced into spines, in that case transpiration will be minimized. Plus, there will be also a defense mechanism that can be seen in the plant because now, because of the spines, the plant would be protected from grazing or browsing animals. Alright. On the other hand, phylloclade, if you remember, phylloclades are green flattened stems, isn't it? Which would perform photosynthesis. Because the leaves have been modified into spines, something has to conduct the photosynthesis, and that would be done by green flattened stems with indefinite growth, and they are known as phylloclades, right? So that can be seen in case of Opuntia. That's also a very important adaptation. Next, in polar sea, a thick layer of fat or blubber is found in aquatic mammals like seals. It's adaptation in seals below their skin. This acts as insulator and reduces the loss of body heat. Okay, so to retain the body heat, they possess a layer of fat which is called blubber in their skin, or rather below their skin, and that's how they will be able to retain the heat. Alright, next, altitude sickness. Now this is very important for your exam. It has been asked so many times in the exam, be it in your boards, be it in NEET. It is a very important part from where questions has been asked. So all of you be very careful in this part. Altitude sickness, which all of you I think are well accustomed of. Whenever you go to some place which is very high in its altitude, there are certain difficulties that arises in the body, isn't it? Due to lower atmospheric pressure, right? And that the body would quickly adapt to such situation or such stressful conditions by making certain changes immediately. Alright, that's what we're going to learn here. See. Altitude sickness can be experienced at high altitude where body does not get enough oxygen due to low atmospheric pressure and causes nausea, fatigue and heart palpitation. Under these conditions, the body increases the RBC's production. So these are the changes that immediately starts occurring in the body to survive such conditions. That is, RBC's production decreases the binding capacity of hemoglobin and increases breathing rate. Alright, so what are the quick adaptations seen in the body? RBC's productions are increased. It will reduce or decrease the binding capacity of hemoglobin and increase the breathing rate. Alright, so this allows quick adaptations to stressful conditions. This one is very important. I'm repeating again. All of you be very careful about this one. Next. In most of animals, the physiology proceeds optimally in narrow temperature range. Like in human, it occurs at 37 degrees, all of you know that. Whereas in certain archaebacteria, again something you have learned in biological classification chapter, isn't it? Archaebacteria. Archaebacteria which are known to survive very harsh conditions, isn't it? For them, there are three types again according to their harsh conditions or harsh habitat where they live in. That is methanogen, which are obligate anaerobes, cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. Then there was halophiles, which will be found in extreme saline conditions or extreme salinity. Likewise, thermoacidophiles. They are found in habitat which is both hot and acidic, right? So that's what is mentioned here. See, in most animals, the physiology proceeds optimally in narrow temperature range. Like in human, it occurs at 37 degrees Celsius, that's fixed. Whereas in some archaebacteria, it may exceed 100 degrees Celsius. Alright? Next. Antarctic fish can survive below 0 degrees. Below 0 degree means what? Any kind of fluid below 0 degree would freeze, isn't it? But how do they survive below 0 degree temperature? That's because they possess antifreeze solutes. Antifreeze solutes in their body to keep their body fluids from freezing. Alright. Next. A large variety of invertebrates and fishes are adapted biochemically to survive great depths where pressure could be very high. Means say 100 times more than the normal atmospheric pressure. Alright, that much of depth they can survive because of certain specific adaptations that are biochemically done in their body. Next, some desert lizards. Now this one is a behavioral adaptation. It's not genetically controlled or as such anything. It is a behavioral adaptation that is seen in some desert lizards. What they do simply is that the desert lizards, they bask in sun when it's cold to increase their body temperature, and they move in shade when the temperature would start rising or increasing. Okay, so that's a behavioral change, isn't it? When it's hot, they would move into shade, and when it is getting cold, they will bask in sun. That's a behavioral adaptation seen in them. Alright, so these are a list of very important adaptations which all of you must remember very properly, and special mention is of altitude sickness for your exam purpose. Alright, now let us discuss a few important rules which are also associated with adaptation. So now let us discuss a few rules which explains adaptations in organisms with respect to temperature or as influenced by temperature. Okay, these rules are very important and are based on two parameters. See, the heat control or temperature control in the body of an organism is based on two factors. One is the volume, another is the surface area of the body. Do remember a simple statement or a simple rule here. Okay, all the rules are finally trying to explain this statement itself or this rule itself, that whenever in the body the volume is going to be higher, that will help the body to retain heat. Whereas if in a body surface area is higher, that will help the body to lose heat. Accordingly, different organisms shows adaptations. Okay, so all the rules we are going to discuss is based on that same thing, that more volume means heat retention, more surface area means heat loss. Okay, so let's see. First, Allen's rule. Mammals from colder climates generally have shorter ears and limbs to minimize heat loss. Okay, so that means the mammals in the colder climate area, they need to retain heat, isn't it? So that's why they would have shorter ears or limbs, means extremities will be shorter. That would reduce the surface area and hence that would minimize the heat loss. Alright, now this is a very important rule. Allen's rule is very important for your exam. Next, Bergman's rule. Warm-blooded animals like birds and mammals have larger body size in colder climate than in the hotter areas. Again, the same rule is going to be followed, isn't it? So, warm-blooded animals, they have larger bodies and larger body size in colder climate. So, that means the volume is again increasing so that they can retain heat in comparison to hotter areas, isn't it? Next, Wrench's rule. In colder climate, birds possess narrow and acuminate wings as compared to wings of birds found in warmer areas. So, the birds in the colder climate, the birds would possess narrow and acuminate wings. Means what? Again, the surface area is getting reduced here. That is why they will be able to retain heat, or that would minimize the heat loss, isn't it? That would help them in comparison to birds in the warmer areas. Alright, so the rules are presented in different manner maybe, but they are all signifying the same thing, that heat loss is going to be enhanced by larger surface area and heat retention is enhanced by higher volume. Alright, Last one, Jordan's rule. Jordan's rules mean as temperature is lowered, some fishes possess larger size with larger number of vertebrae. Alright, so the same thing is represented here as well, isn't it? So in that case, these are some important rules that would help to that will make you understand adaptations with respect to temperature. Again, I'm repeating it so that you remember very well. The same rule is being represented all the time, that is heat retention, higher volume, heat loss, higher surface area. That's it, isn't it? So that's all regarding adaptations, and that much for your today's class. In the next class, we'll start with population. Remember, the chapter's name is Organism and Populations, isn't it? So organisms part is completed. The next class will start with population. Thank you.